So the Jacksonville Jaguars go bold.
Congratulations, T. Hunter. Duval.
There you have it, Travis Hunter, the number 2 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. His name on the big boards at Everbank Stadium. And what a night last night in Green Bay. What a day today. And it was busy in this room last night. Not so busy at the moment with a live look inside the draft room, the Miller Electric Center. It will be in round 3 tonight when the Jaguars have 2 picks, number 70 and 88. They'll have to get through the second round. We'll see if they're bold again. They might move up. Whoever knows. They moved up to get this guy, though, Travis Hunter, from 5 to 2. And he will play wide receiver and cornerback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And welcome in. Day 2 coverage of the NFL Draft is presented by Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing. JP Shadrick with John Oehser. Brian Sexton back from Green Bay. Yeah, bold moves, Brian. You were there in person to see it.
Yeah, listen, I love the kid's energy. The thing that stands out to me is the Jaguars might never have been in this opportunity had it not been for the Titans' insistence on taking Cam Ward. Listen, that's the best receiver, the best cornerback, and the best player in the draft. And not only did the Titans pass on him, but so did the Browns. Yep. So why not take your swing? When are you going to be in that position where it doesn't cost all that much, relatively speaking, to go from 5 to 2? Take it. And boy, has it paid off. I mean, already the attention that this franchise has gotten and the lift, the energy. I was in Atlanta getting ready to board a flight to come back here. The flight to Jacksonville was filled with Jaguars fans, and everybody was buzzing about it. What do you think? It was a great move and a really popular one.
And John, we saw him in person here today and got to really feel his presence for the first time.
Yeah, Brian got him last night, so he was already feeling it. I think what Brian said that really resonates, yes, they had a chance to take their swing this year. For this franchise, they're thinking that it was the only chance they were going to get a chance to swing at this kid. Yeah. I mean, he's a we always overuse the word generational. Mm-hmm. From listening to James Gladstone, from sort of absorbing this, we overuse that. This is that. This is generational, and it's why they made the move, and they gave up multiple years of draft equity for a player that they feel deserves that sort of effort.
Yeah, and here is Travis Hunter. We got to hear from him today in the building in the press conference here at the Miller Electric Center. The best wide receiver in the draft, best cornerback in the draft, but his confidence has a foundation that was built early in life.
I kind of developed my confidence at a young age. I started playing football when I was 4. I had older cousins, so they used to bully me, and I was the youngest out there playing football with them. So I had to get that confidence. I'm not going to let y'all bully me and push me around. So that's just how I go about life. I'm not going to let anybody push me around and tell me what I can't do. I'm just go out and show them.
They certainly did in high school as a 5-star recruit, and then on to Jackson State, and then certainly on to Colorado, where he was the Heisman Trophy winner a year ago. And you got to. It starts with a strong foundation. It's just continued. He's been a blue chipper the whole way.
And I think it's worth pointing out. We all heard Liam and James and Tony talk about the type of person they wanted to bring in here, the foundational culture-setting guy. This is that. He walked into the room where I was last night. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you again after a really brief conversation on Wednesday at Play 60. He's a human being, and that's important. They wanted a guy who could come in here and be one of the faces of the franchise. High character, high effort, high energy. This was a great move by the Jaguars.
Well, I could go on and on about how impressive he was at the podium. You knew he'd win that moment. This kid is a star without trying to be a star,
that's
right?
a good way to put it.
That's sort of his persona. He doesn't have to strut or overdo it to show that he has confidence and to show that he's an alpha. He's an alpha without having to show you that.
From the general manager's perspective, though, it's a lot bigger than just one player at one position and high expectations from GM James Gladstone.
There are players that you can target and acquire who alter the trajectory of a game. There are players that you can target and acquire that alter the trajectory of a football team. There are very few, and it's rare, to be able to target and prioritize a player who can alter the sport itself. And Travis is somebody that we view has the potential to do that. Obviously, there's a lot for him to earn as he steps into the NFL, but we view him through the lens of unique. And it's exciting for us to be able to add someone to this organization who by being nothing more than who he is, elevates the space around him.
That's James Gladstone on this set last night in the immediate aftermath of the pick. Bucky Brooks joins us now from Los Angeles, California, ahead of the second and third rounds tonight. And Bucky, thanks for coming back on with us. When you hear, I think that's the money quote of the week so far. It might be of the whole, recent history of the Jags. Alter the sport? Yeah, the top player at two positions, they made a bold move to go get him. How about those comments from James Gladstone? What stood out the most to you?
Yeah, a lot of things stood out in terms of what Gladstone was saying about Travis Hunter. He talked about a guy that could alter the sport, and what you're saying is someone who is number one at two positions, wide receiver and defensive back, someone who can be an elite level, all-pro caliber player at two positions. We haven't seen that since Khalil Mack did it at defensive end and outside linebacker. In terms of changing the franchise or really help changing the culture, they've been really adamant about this from the beginning. They wanted people who simply changed the energy in the room just by being themselves. What we know about Travis Hunter is he loves ball. He loves everything about ball, preparing, playing, wants to do it, doesn't want to leave the field ever. That's what you want. If you want to build a team that plays hard, you got to bring in people that play hard. Not that you have to beg them to play hard or plead with them. That is a part of their DNA. And when I look at Travis Hunter, so many of the things that we have been desiring for our football team, he exhibits. Really excited to see him in a Jaguars uniform.
Bucky, help me out here. I know he's the best wide receiver and the best corner in this class. But how good is he compared to maybe 5 classes across the broad brush? You look at all these guys coming out. Is he elite for this class, or is he elite at receiver and corner?
Well, the first thing I would say is he's an elite athlete. I would say that he is still an unpolished playmaker at wide receiver and DB because he is kind of a jack of all trades, and so he's never really honed in on one. But in terms of over multiple classes, I would say that he is one of the best pure athletes that we found, and that would be reflective in the way that he was evaluated as a high school kid, as an ATH, meaning an athlete. I would say as a wide receiver, there are guys that have entered the league with more polish, meaning better route runners, guys who kind of have all the tools in place to be elite from day one. But what he doesn't have in technique, he makes up for in tools and talent. And sometimes it's as simple as, man, give him the ball and get out the way. And for me, Travis Hunter is one of those guys. Just give him the ball and get out the way. He'll figure out how to make plays. And I think coaches realize they're much better coaches when they have players that can turn 2-yard passes into 50-yard gains. And so for me, with Brian Thomas Jr. on one side, Travis Hunter on the other side, you now have 2 players who can do those kinds of things. That makes this offense dangerous and more explosive without even having to draw up new plays.
Bucky, as I was driving out of Green Bay last night, I couldn't help but think about when Cordell Stewart defined slash as a quarterback who throws and runs. This is a completely different definition of a multidimensional professional football player. And I don't doubt the kid, his work ethic, his intellect, his love of football. How big is the challenge of trying to take on 2 positions, even if one of them is in a smaller role than the other?
Look, I would say this. I think people have made a lot about that. And we've had a lot of former players kind of weigh in and say, like, oh, he can't do it. Well, what I do know is last year he played 111 snaps per game on average. Like, that's a ridiculous total. When you think about what the average offensive load per game, it's anywhere from 65 to 74 plays. At the high end is 74. So already, just by doing what he did at the collegiate level, he's ready to be a two-way player at the NFL level. And now what you have is the opportunity in using packages to spell them and relieve them. And you also have the opportunity per game. Do we need him more on defense this game or more on offense? So there's so many different things that we can do to make sure that we don't overuse him. I think the one thing that's different about Travis than any other player who's been a two-way player, he never stopped being a two-way player. He continued from high school to college to the pros. This is what he does. So for me, I think it's a fairly easy transition. The hard part is on the coaches in terms of planning out his day, making sure he gets enough meeting time and practice time at both positions to develop. But I don't worry about him being able to handle it, because going back to when he was high school, I used to watch his YouTube clips with my son, watching him do 7-on-7. This is what he has always done. He's the Energizer Bunny. Like, this is what he does.
By the way, Cordell Stewart, another Colorado guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Imagine that. All comes full circle. Bucky, thanks for the time as always, and we'll catch you a little later, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Talk to you
Bucky
soon.
Brooks from Los Angeles, California, NFL Network analyst joining us. And, hey, he was talking about the guys who have to manage him and put together schedules and figure out when and where and how he's going to play. Both of those guys are with Kainani Stevens right now.
Two very happy coordinators. Normally I get to talk to one position coach, but I'm lucky because we got Travis Hunter, so now we get to talk about two. Let's start on defense. Coach Camp, how excited were you? I feel like evaluations on both sides of the football, he was kind of the best at each position.
Yeah, just super excited. Anytime you get an elite level player and an elite person, just an awesome kid. So super excited on both fronts, but could barely contain myself yesterday. So yeah, fired up for sure.
On offense, I'm sure the idea of pairing him up with Brian Thomas Jr. has to be just having your mind going crazy. So have you thought too much about that yet, or are you just excited to get him in the building?
I think I probably started thinking about that before I probably should have. So, yeah, I've been thinking about that a good bit, but can't hit the nail on the head with the excitement with seeing his talents on the field, the type of guy he's off the field. So definitely excited to pair those two guys together.
Coach, when you see an athlete like that, obviously he'll play on both sides of the football, so I'm sure that'll be something you're both aware of. But instinctually on defense, a lot of that is just knowing where the ball is, and I feel like he's one of those players that has that. Can you teach that, or is it he kind of had to figure it out and have it?
I think you don't want to get in the way of that more than anything. He's a special talent, but he definitely has incredible ball skills, which is something you really covet, as a defensive coach, especially with any defensive back. You have to take that in consideration when you challenge a guy like that as a quarterback, just because they can change the game, with their ability to take the ball away.
When you look at him as an offensive player, what kind of role do you see him playing on the offense here in Jacksonville?
Well, I think the same things that Camp talked about on defense transition to offense when you look at the ball skills and his knack for just positional awareness on the field, spatial awareness, and those things, just like they challenge a quarterback defensively, they help a quarterback offensively when you have a guy who can go get the ball, put himself in position to be open and make plays.
We talk a lot, or you guys have, when you come in the building, about love and ball, right? We want players that want to be in this building as much as possible. Can you think of anyone that you've talked to that more than Travis that wants to be in this building?
No, I think he's got a magnetic personality that way, where he really does have a great vibe when you're around him. Some people have a great energy. Travis definitely has that, but I think the other thing about him, which you alluded to, is he loves football. And that was really important to us, to bring a guy in here that loves football and can continue to push and develop the culture that we're trying to bring here into this building.
I know this will kind of be an evolving thing, but do you have any idea? Is there a snap count in mind? Like, when you look at offense, are you kind of just going to see what he can handle as soon as he gets here?
I think it'll be an organization-wide commitment from not just offense, defense, special teams, strength staff, athletic training staff, nutrition staff, everybody working together to optimize what is that best path, what is that best role for him and for the team.
Has Coach talked to you guys a little bit? Obviously, this is, a huge focus was that he wants to play both sides of the football, and you guys are going to facilitate that. Was that like the first discussion, that no matter what, he's going to do both? At least start that way?
No, it was definitely part of the discussion. We have a plan for that, which we're excited to get in place. And, as soon as he's able to get in the building, we're excited to kind of put that in place and get rolling with him. But that was definitely part of the conversation.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Kai, thank you very much. Anthony Campanelli and Grant Udinsky, the guys who have to figure all this whole thing out with Travis Hunter, and I'm sure they'll do a fine job with it. We welcome in now NFL senior writer for The Athletic, the great Mike Silver, is in the building. Great to see you, man. Thanks for the time. How are you?
So happy to be here. And great call. When do you ever see a pick where both coordinators are celebrating?
Right?
Like, usually one of them's kind of scowling, like, hey, when's my guy? And the other one's like, yeah, this time, total euphoria. Really great to be here. There's something really cool going on here. And I felt that before the big, bold move that rock the NFL world.
And you were in there last night, embedded in the draft room behind the scenes. The trade goes down officially once the Titans have made the pick at 1. But as you wrote in your article last night, I mean, they had this in the bag about 17 days ago.
Yeah, they had it in the bag, but there was a real contingency, and that was, hey, the Browns said, hey, if Cam Ward is somehow there at 2, we're just taking him trades off. So it was hard to imagine a scenario where the Titans would trade out to someone who took someone other than Ward or Hunter, or that the Titans would take someone else. But, you know, there was no way to officially feel like it was done until that happened. So in that room, when obviously they're a little bit ahead of the TV, but when word in the room came that, hey, Ward has officially been picked, that's when they started to get excited. Then, of course, James Gladstone had to call Andrew Berry, his Browns counterpart, and make sure, like, hey, I know they had touched base, I believe, in the morning, if not the night before, like, hey, we're still good, right? Still good, and then it was time to call Travis Hunter, and I think you guys have seen the video. That was a really, really euphoric and cool moment.
Mike, you're as tied in to the entire league as anybody I know, and you've covered it for 3 decades. We first met back in Stevens Point, believe it or not, in 95, which means we're old. But as the younger of the two, which you are, tell me, put into this perspective, Travis Hunter and the move to go get him, just what he means to the league in terms of what he's going to try to do.
First of all, he's a unicorn, right? And we'll see. I love that he's not backing away from it in any way, and I know it gets hot here, and it sounds like a lot. Plus, just the day-to-day sounds like a lot. But this kid has an infectious energy, and I think he's very sincere that he wants to try to do what really hasn't been done, or on a level that hasn't been done for decades and decades now. I think the player is special, and I think it'll be a really, really cool thing here. But as James Gladstone referred to, earlier today, the statement means something too, and I love that. There's something really cool going on here. There's a rebrand. There have been obviously some fits and starts where Shad Khan has taken big swings. Urban Meyer. We've had brief moments, the playoff comeback, and obviously 2017 coming so close to a Super Bowl. But alignment feels really, really like a thing here with Tony Baselli, James Gladstone, Liam Cohen. And, for that group to kind of tell everyone, hey, this is who we are. We're not afraid to go after what we want. We're willing to take risks. And, I think the last thing I'd say is, there's a difference between like going from 5 to 2 in some drafts. In this draft, the consensus around the league was, maybe Cam Ward will be special. If you don't need a quarterback, forget that. There's some questions about the edge rusher, Carter, but beyond that, there's really a huge cliff. So 5, a lot of people thought 5 was the same as 18 or 20 essentially, which is why a lot of teams wanted to move down. To flip it and go, no, we're going to figure out a way to get up and get the surefire guy that everybody would want. Is a pretty cool way to come out of the box.
Mike Silver with us from The Athletic, embedded in the draft room. We hear a lot about young NFL coaches. Guys in their 30s get jobs all the time. But we don't hear a lot about NFL GMs that are in their 30s, especially in their early 30s. And James Gladstone is that. The age aside, what was your initial impression of his process in the room? It didn't feel like, some of the other drafts you see on TV, there's like 70 people in the room.
Yeah.
They pared that down some. And then just the way he's come up under Les Snead and risen quickly in the ranks, he's built for this kind of thing, it feels like.
Yeah, he seems to be very resolute and unflappable in the moment, and he seems to also enjoy the symbolism that goes with it, right? Like a lot of people would just be like, hey, you guys handle the symbolism. I'm just trying to execute the task and get Travis Hunter. But he was vibing on all of it, and that's cool. I just think before we even get into that, we got to talk about the football, because I noticed this yesterday. Now it's become a thing. So yesterday, he and Tony Baselli, hours before the draft, went for a walk around, and Tony was like, "Hey James, you got to grab your football." And I'm like, "The football?" So apparently, since coming into the building a couple months ago, James Gladstone found one of the footballs, and he just always has it with him. It's kind of an affectation whenever he's throwing it, he's catching it, he's spinning it, bouncing it, and it's just always with him. So he had it in the room last night. It was really cool. And then earlier today, when Travis Hunter got in the building, there was a power broker meeting in the office of Shad Khan, and that was with Shad and Tony Khan, Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen, and James Gladstone. And I noticed really early on, Travis has the ball now. And then Travis ended up with it, in the press conference. And apparently James threw Travis the ball. It's, as James says, it's his first takeaway of many. But Travis, left very recently, and he left with a ball, but James also had a ball. And so I've, of course, the huge question, who's got the original ball? Apparently, James has the original ball, the James Gladstone ball, and Travis now has a different ball. So it all ends perfectly, but I want to see Gladstone with that same football he had last night as he really tries to, now is when the personnel guys really start loving the draft, when you get in the third round and later. And they've got, I know, 4 specific players targeted in that 70 to 88 range. And, hopefully for them, they'll have a hard choice and debate about multiple players because more than 2 of them will be available.
I'm curious, Mike, you've been around this team a lot over the years. You touched on it a little bit. It's had its dips. You were around in the 90s when it was good. To me, Tony feels like a big part of that. Tony Baselli, just that symbolism. You remember what it was in the 90s.
Yeah.
I guess take me through why you think this feels so right.
Well, let's start with Tony Baselli. He was the first pick in franchise history, the 2nd overall pick in 1995. Mark Brunell, the young quarterback. And you remember that team. They did not only did they not play like an expansion team, they didn't, their vibe was not of that. They were very kind of defiant about, hey, we can make noise now. And to go to the AFC Championship game in year 2 and to go to Denver and beat a generationally good Mike Shanahan, John Elway Broncos team that won the next 2 Super Bowls and beat them badly in a playoff game, that was a big deal. 3 years later, they were hosting the AFC Championship as the number 1 seed, and playing to go to the Super Bowl. And so it was a startling thing in football circles to see an expansion team come out of the gate so hot. Obviously the Panthers did as well in 96. And it was just, wow, the Jaguars are not content to slow build. They're going after it. So I think Tony, definitely him being back, Tony Baselli's like, we're not anyone's doormat. I know we haven't been winning lately, but we're going after it. And I think, whatever he and Liam and James have formed together, there was an intangible, James talks about intangibly rich. There was an intangible Thursday night where they were like, yeah, America, we're the Jaguars. We just went and got, the guy in this draft, and we're not scared to give up next year's one, among other things. And, welcome to the new day in Jacksonville. So I love all of that. I think that transcends whether Travis Hunter turns out to be as great as we think he can. I also think there's a great case to be made that he'll be pretty great.
I think so. One way or another, he's going to get an opportunity for sure. Mike, great to see you. Thank you for the time. And thanks for coming down the hallway, man.
Thank you. I can't wait to run back and try to infiltrate some more and hope that something else crazy happens. But it's cool. I have a feeling I'll be back. So thanks a lot.
Love it, man. Mike Silver from The Athletic, the NFL senior writer, joining us here as we get ready for rounds 2 and 3 of the NFL draft here in 2025. Of course, the Jaguars have 2 picks tonight, number 70 and number 88 overall this evening, both in the 3rd round at the moment. We'll see what happens. You never know if they want to be bold again. Of course, we'll have coverage later tonight after the picks are done in round number 3. Immediate analysis of both of those coming up. Thanks to all of our guests, and thanks to you for watching. Day 2 coverage of the NFL Draft is presented by Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing.